Hey guys, it's Nick, and thanks for tuning into Long Island Wargaming. And this is going to be the first game for the Crossroads Challenge GT 2013. And I got paired off against Dwarves, which is my first army that I started back in 6th edition, and really haven't played much since then. And it's good to play against them. I haven't really used my Skaven against them yet, so it should be interesting. And this is the first scenario where it's essentially a battle line setup, and you pick a target of opportunity, which is one from three. You pick three things, one from any of the categories: Lord, Hero, Core, Special, or Rare, and you just have to essentially eliminate them in order to get extra victory points and extra battle points for the uh, campaign for the tournament. So this was a pretty cool display board that he had set up. He's running a Dwarf Lord on Shield, Rune Lord with all sorts of Dispel garbage, a Thane BSB, Master Engineer to help out with the artillery. Looks like 42 Dwarf Warriors, 13 Quarrelers, which are actually set up to scout, 30 Hammers, and then we got 2 Grudge Throwers, a Cannon, and a Organ Gun. You can see the list is meant to hug the edge of the board with the stubborn hammers and the big brick of warriors, and that cannon ends up getting entrenched, so it's going to be even more defensive. And then you can also see the quarrelers, the rangers, are scouted right there facing backwards so they can shoot down the gutter runners right away. And then here you can see the overall deployment. There's this big building in the way, which makes hugging that corner even more effective. The plague monks are just going to streamline along the edge of the battlefield so they can take on the hammers, and the hell pit abomination is going to assist. The doom wheel is going to be pretty much useless in the game because I really can't get caught up blocking myself, so I put him out there to the edge. I figured the quarrelers were going to be out in the middle of nowhere before he placed his scouts. I figured he would go hunt them down, but they end up being right there in front of the forest, facing backwards, which is pretty convenient for me. It's going to be an easy way to charge them down. And you can see the rest of my deployment is as is. I looked at this as a free gift, so I went ahead during the pregame stage of picking our targets of opportunity. I picked this. It's going to be a quick, easy flank. I can get the victory points and the battle points with this unit. I'll, let the gunner runners, die for it. I also picked the hammers because although they're stubborn, I knew I had to grind them down with the plague monks to even win this battle. And then I also picked the BSB, so I figured once I can get in there, I could try to kill him, even though he's got a lot of armor, because that Brick of Warriors is probably going to take a while to grind down too. So I also couldn't pick the Warriors because the Rangers were core, and the Rangers seemed like a more viable target. And then just to do the army justice, take a close look here. This is a nice zoomed up photo. Pretty nice paint job. Of course, that cannon was entrenched, which I believe is hard cover, -2 to hit. And then the counters are just showing all the crew because there's also engineers being equipped to the artillery also. So magic would be helpful this game if I'm able to get it off. I've got Cloud of Corruption, which is great. Get the Gracier in there, go for some area effect, try to knock out some war machines, kill a couple dwarves here and there. Pestilent Breath on the Plague Priest, and then Curse the Horn Rat, Wither, and Plague. So if I can weather them down, maybe get them to toughness 3, and then try to plague a unit, could be effective. So during the dwarf first turn, you could see no movement happened on his behalf. The organ gun ended up shooting down the gutter runners, and then the quarrelers finished them off. This was my first game in a big GT, so I didn't want to make any arguments. I'm not quite sure if the organ gun could actually see over the dwarves' heads. I guess if they didn't have the weapons when he lined it up, he showed me they did. I really didn't care because in the long run it didn't make a difference, but I just don't know if that's a common thing where the organ gun's just a little bit higher, can shoot over the dwarfs' heads, because if that's the case, that's pretty awesome. And then in my turn, I just surged everything forward. Luckily, his artillery didn't take out the lightning cannon, which he picked as a target of opportunity. I should also go through what he did. It was that, the Plague Furnace, and then one of my heroes might have been the Plague Priest. Well, yeah, the Plague Priest, the Lightning Cannon, and I forget what the third one was. But yeah, so So my magic was all denied, and shooting really didn't play much of effect. So for dwarf turn 2, a little bit of maneuvering here to just prepare for the oncoming Help and Abomination and Plague Furnace, but also the hammer is back up because obviously there's a lot of monks coming, and the dwarven quarrelers are able to do a swift reform and back up a couple inches into the forest. The dwarven artillery struggles to take out my lightning cannon and or do any effective damage to my plague monks and furnace and the Hellpit Abomination. There was some flaming siege weapons in there, which is kind of scary, but as you can see here, I'm just missing a couple slaves here and there, some clan rats at the back of that base. So I'm feeling pretty good at this point, actually. The Doom Wheel is going to make a run around the forest because I don't want to go through the forest, around the forest to go maybe deal with some war machines. Odds are I think he's going to get shot down because once my units get into combat, there's going to be no other targets except the Doom Wheel. But he's going to, attempt it. And then, of course, I try to get some spells off, but they're all denied, which is really tough. And then next turn, I'll try to take out those Quarrelers. And here's just another shot of the oncoming waves of rats. And again, just another angle. You can see how far the Hellpit Abomination came lunging forward. This is actually going to give him a free shot at a flank charge if he decides to do so. You can also notice that some dwarves are peeled off the back there. That was from the Doom Rocket. He was actually able to save more than I was expecting. During my shooting phases, you can see where my lightning cannon is in the top right corner, and the straight line I have through on the cannon, the organ gun, and the grudge thrower. The first 2 turns I try making shots through, I only end up getting strength 2 twice. So I drop 10 inches from the grudge thrower. I roll a 2 for the initial shot and then 2 for the bounce. Don't wound anything, but I was really hoping for 10s or 8s so I can get a straight line and drop a template onto either the grudge thrower or maybe even hit that master engineer that was just chilling out, and possibly even wound and kill 1, 2, or all 3 of the war machines with best Skaven luck. But unfortunately, during the first 2 rounds, that did not happen. And no surprise here, the Great Weapon Dwarf Warriors make a run at the Hellpit Abomination for a nice flank charge. And during remaining moves, a very, very interesting play is made here. You can see where the Hellpit Abomination is. The Dwarf Lord on Shield Bearers exits the Dwarf Warrior unit, the Dwarf Hammer unit. The Hammer unit reforms a little bit, so they've got some bigger ranks. And this guy is going to block up the Plague Monks. I'm not going to be able to get the Plague Furnace in. We actually called over a rules judge to see if the Furnace is able to move within the unit during the beginning of combat, kind of like a make way. It has to remain in the center of the center of the unit at all times. The only time it can move within the center is during a reform. And right now I've got 7 ranks of guys or 7 lines of guys, so really the 3 guys could be on either side moving that furnace. But in this case, during my deployment, which is a mindless thing, I put the furnace, so there's 4 guys on the right of it. So if I did it with the 3 guys on the right, the furnace actually would have been able to hit the Dwarf Lord, then creating impact hits, then creating D6 toughness tests, no armor save, which probably would have killed the Lord. Also, my Plague Priest would have also been able to use his flail and try to do some damage. However, it's not going to work. It's just going to be Plague Monks at weapon skill 3, strength 3, so it's just going to be a disaster. It's going to be 5s to hit, 5s to wound, 6s to wound actually, so when that comes time to be, you'll see how that pans out. In the Dwarven turn 3, he is finally able to knock out the lightning cannons that we first spent the first 2 rounds trying to knock each other's artillery out, and he finally got to it, and he is the first to score a unit of opportunity, battle point, and victory points. The Hellpit Abomination is sitting on 4 wounds now. The hero in the unit, I believe, had flaming attacks. Not the unit, just the hero. And the hero failed at scoring any wounds, which wasn't allowing the rest of the unit to open up to free shots at the Helped Abomination without regen. So I'm actually able to regen any of my remaining um, wounds that are done against me. And you can see I peel off, it looks like, I don't know, 10 guys, because there's even less now. So the Helped Abomination does a nice chunk of damage, which is pretty great. So my turn 3 comes around. I'm feeling really good about this game. The clan rats go into those quarrelers, so I'm only going to be fighting 2 dwarves, so I would only take 2 casualties. I've got 3 ranks. I've got a charge, a flank charge, so I'm in pretty good shape. Hopefully the Helped Abomination can kill that unit or break that unit or cause some sort of damage, maybe somehow kill the hero. This way there's less chances of those quarrelers surviving, but we'll see how that goes. The Gracie unit and the BSP unit enters the building. This gives me a bigger range for spells, since we're going to measure from the building. That'll even help for, say, Cloud of Corruption. And then the Plague Priests and the Plague Monks in the Furnace smash into that Dwarf Lord. And the Hell Pit, the Doom Wheel is making its way around the forest. Should be able to come towards the artillery soon. From that angle, I also forgot the slaves had made a rear charge. You can see the Helped Abomination ends up dying, but a handful more warriors drop. At this point, when a rear charge is made, the hero in there did have an Oath Stone. So the Oath Stone is dropped, which does not give me charge bonuses, does not give me the rear charge bonuses. So these slaves are actually going to be stuck grinding here, which kind of sucks. However, he had to do what he had to do, otherwise it's going to break this unit. And then I was only able to kill 1 dwarf quarreler, and they end up sticking, which kind of sucks. I mean, I wasn't terribly surprised. I really wanted to wipe this unit out. I didn't think sending both slaves and units into that combat would have been a smart idea, just based on the fact of a front charge would have given him so many slaves to kill him. Plus, I really wanted this rear charge, but at the time I forgot about the Oath Stone option being dropped. I was unable to break the Dwarf Lord. I did no wounds to him. He had the 1-up armor with a rerollable option. So he had, what, 4 attacks at the Dwarf Lord, and then there's 2 shield bearers. So he was able to score enough wounds to even out my charge and my ranks and my banner. Even with leadership 10, if I had won the combat by even 1 or 2, he was still on leadership 8 rerollable, so he's stuck. But the hammerers, you can see here on, I believe, Dwarven turn 4, make a smash in now, so they're going to have to assist that lord, otherwise he's slowly going to die, because at this point, I was able to make a reform and move the furnace to touch the Dwarf Lord. It's still in the center, but I was able to move it because during a reform, you can move the position of the furnace. So the Lord taking d6 toughness tests wasn't going to be pretty. Artillery takes out the Doom Wheel without an issue. His artillery was very accurate with all the different runes on it. A lot of rerolls, artillery dice, a lot of rerolls on scatter dice. Just very, very accurate, and there was no explosions with his misfires or anything. So that's the Dwarven army for you. The destroyed Doom Wheel panics these guys. They both turn and run. However, to my surprise, the next turn they end up rallying on leadership 5 tests, which is great. The Dwarven Hammers focus fire down the Plague Furnace, which is not a tough thing to kill at weapon skills 5, strength 6 with the great weapons. However, I do activate the Plague Banner and do as much damage as I can, but having not played my dwarves in a while or played against them, forget how tough they are, especially with that armor. When you've got strength 3, their armor 5 up is great. The toughness 4, 5s to wound is great. So I was able to get a lot of hits with my rerolls, a lot of wounds with my rerolls, but not enough to completely wipe this unit out, of course. But there is about 18 guys left, plus the Dwarf Lord. However, due to the amount of wounds I do in this combat, I win, which unfortunately the Dwarf Lord is not stubborn because he wasn't part of the unit since the Dwarf Hammer is charged in separately. So he breaks, but the stubborn hammers stick, so that's interesting. Yeah, so they're going to stay and hang around for a little while. Hopefully I can do something to that Dwarf Lord. And now, having a few rounds of combat, my slaves, which, are pretty shitty when you think about it, weren't able to do anything about the quarrelers. I saw that as a free gift. I think I blew my chances on gaining those points there. Not that I really had any other options. I mean, I could have sent the Doom Wheel after them. Odds are the Doom Wheel could have just died entering the forest or gotten shot at or something stupid. So it was kind of disappointing that these dwarves, these quarrelers, are still alive. I mean, I really, really, really thought they were going to get chewed off the battlefield real quickly. But yeah, so they're sticking it out, taking a casualty here and there, but I've got enough ranks and steadfast to stay there. But as I slowly grind it down, the more guys I lose, the larger percentage of my unit being in the forest, and the second I lose steadfast is going to become an issue. And it's a grind here. We're really grinding down. I end up reforming, so I've got more ranks. I can't break. I really need my leadership 10 reroll. So it looks like there's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16, 17 dwarven hammers chilling. So slowly going to grind them down. So we're nearing the end of the game. My rat darts that rallied are coming around. Maybe they'll be able to assist attacking some war machines, but they're dwarves. Odds are they're gonna, break and run anyway. My bunker unit is now chilling in the building with the Gracier and the BSB, and the clan rat unit there is just moving forward. They exited the building last turn. Now they're ranked up to flank charge um, the Chaos Warriors, jeez, the Dwarven Warriors that are still rear charged by the the slaves. I never reform because I don't want to give him more guys to kill me with, so we're sitting like that. I don't know if that's illegal or not, but he seemed to be okay with it, so I was okay with it. And I never mentioned this, but I'm pretty sure my warp fire thrower just blew up or got shot off the battlefield by quarrelers or something, so. You can notice a couple dwarves are peeled off here and there between the slaves, and the plague monks. It's really, really getting down to a grind right now with the hammers. If I can just kill them, that's a huge chunk of points I can get, and then I can just overrun, take on that lord again, see what happens, but also maybe start eating some war machines. So these stubborn hammers on leadership 10, they're always going to be tough, but I really, really got them down to a thin line at this point. And what happens with the Dwarf Lord? Well, he decides he's going to be a hero yet a second time. This Dwarf Lord is going to run forward and block the flank charge that would possibly, get me a huge chunk of points and have me run into those war machines. He thinks he's going to be able to take on some clan rats. Of course he's going to be able to take on some clan rats. He's a Dwarf Lord on shield. But this is just yet another roadblock that's going to become an issue for me. Nothing's really going on in the magic phase. I mean, I try to get a Cloud of Corruption off here and there. I mean, at this point, if I was able to get Cloud of Corruption off, I tried. It would give me an option to do the D6 Strength 5 hits, no armor save on the Dwarf Lord, and it would have affected, of course, all my units, but D6 Strength 5 hits against either one of these hammer units or great weapon warriors. I don't believe the quarrelers are in range, but either of those three guys would have been pretty devastating at this point in the game, really giving me a better edge. But my magic was denied left and right. And we're really down to the line here with the Plague Monks and the Hammerers. There's only 4 or 5 left at this point, and I'm still grinding away at those quarrelers. Look, I've got about 5 or 6 left up there too, but man, I cannot break one of these units. So this picture shows my last hurrah, and I run my Gracier out into the middle of nowhere because I had last licks, so I wasn't worried about him dying. Maybe he'll cascade or something, but I decided to go for one last shot at the Cloud of Corruption. Right there in that position, he had the Hammers in range, the Quarrelers in range, that Cannon in range, and then the Warriors in range. So if I could get this spell off, I can maybe kill all of them, or at least kill the Quarrelers and the Hammers. There was a chance that the Cannon would be a bonus, and then a couple of wounds to the Warriors would be great. But it's just denied. He dispels it, which really sucks. And then it wasn't worth plaguing anything because I would do more damage to myself. and I couldn't dread it 13th everything anything because all the units were in combat, so it was just a little tight. And yep, so the clan rats get grinded down to having one rank. I don't break, thankfully, but this is the closing shot. And here we just have a zoom in on the dwarf lord killing all my clan rats. So yeah, tough game. I really thought I had a good chance with this game. I mean, just looking at my sheer numbers compared to the dwarves, this big building put a huge damper on things. If you see the space in between the Hellpit Abomination and the Warp Fire Thrower, if I could throw the Doom Wheel in there and then the second unit of slaves and just be able to march everything in, things would have been very different. Um, the Doom Wheel would have been able to deal with some war machines or just tie up something. So that really would have made a difference. And the fact that I was unable to kill those quarrelers the whole game just hurt so much. They would have been a target of opportunity for me, but I was unable to get any of my targets. He was able to get all three of his, which scored him extra bonus points. And then it ended up being in the 20-nil system, I believe 16-4. So I walked away with only 4 points, which isn't a great start. But then again, if I lose my first game, then I'll be playing people that also lost their first game. So I could take it a little bit easier and drink a little bit more heavily, which is awesome. So yeah, nice start to this tournament with a big old four, but fun game. This was a really fun opponent. I thanked him because being at my first GT, I didn't know if I was going to get to play douchebags or if I was going to get to play fun people. So he was really friendly. He was not from the area, but he went to school in the area, so I guess he was there with a bunch of people. So yeah, so stay tuned for the next game, and hopefully I'll do a little bit better.